to almost everybody. So tonight's sermon was supposed to be given by Rabbi Jeff Stambaugh of The Well. And unfortunately, at the last moment, he was unable to be here. So Rabbi Yedwab, who was the person in charge of sort of figuring out the schedule, sent a quick email out to all of the clergy. And I was the first one to raise my hand. At the last minute, I decided that I would participate and give the sermon tonight. And like every rabbi does these days, I consulted AI, artificial intelligence, to find out what it was that I should speak about. And here's what happens when you do that. Hi, I'm a rabbi, and I am a rabbi at a large Reform congregation in Michigan. I have to give the sermon tonight because the person who was supposed to give the sermon wasn't able to show up. I'm wondering if you have, in 2 sentences, an idea of what I should speak about tonight.
Hi. How about focusing on the theme of resilience and community support? You could talk about how, just like the Jewish community has historically navigated challenges with strength and unity, your congregation can come together to support one another through times of unexpected change and adversity.
You know, that's a great idea, but I'm thinking now, because I'm talking to you, artificial intelligence, maybe we should be talking about Judaism and artificial intelligence. In 2 sentences, can you tell me if there's a connection between Judaism and artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. Judaism's rich discussions on ethics, morality, and the nature of intelligence can provide a profound framework for exploring the development and use of artificial intelligence, urging us to consider how these technologies align with values of compassion, justice, and responsibility.
Excuse me.
To reflect on how...
I'm so sorry to interrupt. But you know, I don't have a lot of time because I'm actually giving the sermon right now. I'm wondering if you could pick one particular text that comes from Jewish tradition that might be a starting point for our conversation about artificial intelligence and Judaism.
Certainly. A fitting text could be from Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, 2 verse 21, attributed to Rabbi Tarfon. It is not your responsibility to finish the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. This passage can serve as a powerful starting point for discussing the role of AI in society, emphasizing the idea that while we may not solve all ethical dilemmas AI presents, we are obligated to engage with these challenges thoughtfully and diligently, guided by our ethical and moral compass.
And there you have artificial intelligence in real time on my telephone. And of course, I actually did that this week. I talked to my AI actually on my computer, and what it gave me for tonight's conversation is the document that you have in front of you. Literally, it gave me this in a Microsoft Word form, and what you're seeing is only half of the document, because the other half were explanations of each text and questions that I might ask you. But I wasn't going to give you the rabbi's guide tonight. That was how I am going to give the sermon. So this sermon is actually inspired by, really written by, artificial intelligence. And while it talked about a different text that is not on your sheet tonight, when I asked artificial intelligence tonight, by the way, her name is Sky. I didn't give her that name. She came with that name on my phone. Her name is Sky. I could have chosen 6 other voices. That's the one that I like the most. Sort of like your Waze, where you have to pick the voice you want to yell at you when you're making the wrong turns. In this case, Sky gave me what I think is the most powerful beginning point for our conversation tonight. Our text number 1 on your sheet. From Genesis, the creation story, it says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man,'" or man and woman, because of what Rabbi Hornston taught me tonight, that it's the International Day of the Woman. "Let man make women in our image, after our likeness. So God created men and women in God's own image. In the image of God, we were created. Male and female, God created us. So if we are in God's image and we create artificial intelligence, if we have programmed the computers, then aren't those computers actually in God's image? And aren't we supposed to be doing this work using artificial intelligence? Aren't we supposed to be writing our research papers in high school using artificial intelligence? Because I'm supposed to be like God, and these were created by humans who are like God, and therefore I can use it. Is there any argument against that? What's your argument against it? I need to hear one argument against it. This is a conversation, by the way. It's an idol, so it goes against a different, if I begin to idolize it. But what if I'm not idolizing it? What if I'm just using this because I'm actually using something that was given to me because I'm created in God's image and we are one and the same? Aha, so it might become an idol that we turn to like the golden calf, replacing our connection to God, which then actually is a perfect transition to text number 2. Take a look down with me. This is from Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of Our Fathers, one of the opening chapters of the Mishnah, written around the year 200 of the Common Era, long before artificial intelligence existed. Rabbi Akiva said, "Beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God. It shows an even greater love that it was made known to him that he was created in the image of God." In other words, maybe God's giving us permission. That in this particular case, artificial intelligence, we now think is like God. It can do the things that God can do. It can create like God created in the book of Genesis. And we are told that. So we are one and the same as this artificial intelligence. But now we actually get a text from this week's Torah portion. Text number 3 talks about a man by the name of Bitzalel. Bitzalel was chosen in this week's Torah portion as the architect or the supervisor of the building of the tabernacle. And in the text, it tells us why he was chosen. And this is why he was chosen. "See, I have called by name Bitzalel, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship." In other words, if we have wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and we can create, then we are like Bitzalel, and Bitzalel was chosen to actually build the tabernacle. Maybe AI, artificial intelligence, is a modern tabernacle in which God will dwell. But what happens? Yeah, Judy? So is it plagiarism if I'm just saying what God said? This is what God said. We are one and the same, right? We human beings, we're created in God's image. I'm just saying what God said. I'm not taking credit for it. I didn't write this. Artificial intelligence wrote this. And by the way, I didn't say I wrote it. Artificial intelligence gave us this information. Well, let's just keep going. Let's keep going a little bit further. We're going to skip number 4, and instead we're going to go to number 5. And instead of reading the text there, I'm going to talk about this because in the Talmud, we find out about a Jewish mystical reality. Raise your hands if you have actually heard of the Golem. That's different from Golem from Lord of the Rings. Okay, for those of you who don't know what the Golem is, think Jewish Frankenstein. Okay? In the Talmud, the rabbis talked about a tradition that later becomes sort of really a cool story of the people in medieval times. And it is the idea that you can grab clay, just like God grabbed clay in order to create the first human beings, and made human beings Adam from the earth. Adam, earth. God grabbed clay and molded the first human being. We can mold the first human being, or a human being, create a a human structure here, but is it human yet? What's missing from the clay creature that I create, that I call the golem? It's soul, it's neshama. And how do you get a soul into it? Well, if you look at the creation story, God breathed life into that Adam, that first human being. And so if we breathe God's life into that piece of clay, it's going to come alive. And so the golem story was this idea that you could build a clay structure, a man or a woman, and you could put God's name on its head or in its mouth, depending on which version of the story you get, and it would come alive, and it would protect me. But the one thing that it couldn't do, according to all of the ritual traditions of Judaism, is speak. It couldn't speak. And if you look at this text, this is from the Talmud. The Talmud recounts how Rava created a man, a golem, through mystical means, and he sent him to another rabbi, Rabbi Zeira. Rabbi Zeira, realizing it was a golem, returned it to dust because it could not speak. But tonight, I didn't create a clay structured human being. I took my phone out, and what did it do? It spoke. You heard it. I had a conversation with artificial intelligence. This is, I would argue, a modern day golem. Is it okay for us to have a modern day Frankenstein that comes to life when we are told we are created in the image of God? Well, obviously, all of you are wondering, where do we go from here? So I just want us to go all the way down to number 7. Very famous story. You all know the Tower of Babel. People from all over the universe speak different languages. They're all different peoples. And they are climbing to heaven in order to know God. And what's the problem with everyone who is trying to know God? They're all trying to, one, be better than the other. They're going to get there first. They're going to win the battle of politics. They're going to win the battle of who's right and who's wrong. And in number 7, it says, "And the Lord said, behold, they are one people. They all have one language, and this is the only the beginning of what they will do. And now nothing that they purpose to do will be impossible for them." In other words, all these people were battling each other, trying to build this tower, and God says, it's not going to work. So I'm going to separate them, and I'm going to give every one of them a different language, and they won't be able to do this work together. But right now, what we're seeing is an incredible moment of creation on one hand. I mean, it was amazing what I was able to do tonight. It's amazing to be able to have a conversation with your phone and have it answer you so perfectly. By the way, about anything, any subject in the entire universe. On the other hand, if we use it for evil, if we try to climb to the top of other people, if we try to use it for terrible weaponry, if we try to use it to kill and to maim and to destroy, are we still acting in the image of God? So tonight, I'm leaving you with a question, not an answer, which is that we have artificial intelligence in our world, and it is going to be able to do some great things. It already is doing great things around us. And we are at a crossroads where we have to decide, are we going to move for the better, or are we going to move towards evil? And I pray that if we follow some of our Jewish sources, some of which we didn't get to tonight, but if you read them, they all direct us to act more like we are in the image of God than that we are like the people of Babel. And I pray that we'll use AI, artificial intelligence, for good and not for evil. So let's just say goodbye to our friend tonight and see what she has to say. Hi, I just finished my sermon, and I'm wondering if you can offer everybody one final 2-sentence conclusion about what our Jewish responsibility with regard to AI should look like. Let's try that again. Hi.
In our journey with artificial, ensuring that we guide AI's development and implementation with ethical considerations at the forefront, protecting the dignity and well-being of all creation. Let us embrace innovation with the moral clarity and ethical insight that our tradition offers, committing ourselves to use these powerful tools to heal the world, tikkun olam, in ways that honor our shared values and responsibilities.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. I have a poor connection. She speaks Hebrew, obviously, also. Shabbat shalom.